Solitude. _8_. I wanted to cry, to weep, to cuss and just say everything that was coming to my mind in that moment, but I also knew that that is what everyone was expecting of me. After the strange man walked out of my office, I sat on the desk silently and just allowed everything to sink in. I was in a different world now, different from all the makeup brushes and contours I was used to. The world I was in now was that where everyone was hungry for power. I had no idea how much this building was standing on, but I was damn aware that that was a lot of money, the kind of money that would make people fight against each other. After minutes of just trying to put myself together, I finally opened the PC. The password had not been changed. I had never actually had access to this computer here, but Shailesh told me a lot of things which at the time I thought irrelevant, but now they looked to be helpful. Folders were neatly arranged. I smiled at the thought that only her could do such. On one of the folders on the desktop was her schedule. It looked like an Excel sheet which had been updated a few days before she passed on. This looked like a good start, so I went through it. By the time I was done an hour later, I had a throbbing headache. I couldn't understand a thing. Everything was there, but it looked like French. After much thought of trying to put things together, I decided to call the only person I thought might help. "Good morning, Mr. Cochran on the line," August said formally on the other end of the line. I swallowed hard, unsure of what I was going to say to him. "Ms. Mafanda, are you just going to breath in my ear without a word?" he asked, startling me. "I am sorry, August." "Mr. Cochran, ma'am," he corrected. "I am sorry, Mr. Cochran. I apologized." There was silence. "You called because..." There was a way that he responded. I didn't want to say that he was rude, neither did I want to say that he was just being professional, but his voice sounded like there is nothing much that he wanted to do with me. "I was going through some folders here on Shailesh's desktop and most of the things don't make sense to me. I was hoping you would help me go through them," I said. I waited a minute before he actually responded. "What happened to your secretary?" "I have one." "I mean Shailesh's secretary," he corrected with something like sympathy in his voice. "She was fired." Silence. "What exactly are you looking at?" he finally asked after going back and forth with me. I explain what it is that the folders say. After listening attentively for about 5 minutes, he tells me he will send an email to explain everything in detail. I couldn't be more grateful. We say our goodbyes, then I cut the line. The entire day I spend it trying to get around work, and honestly, as much as I try, even with the email that August sent, nothing seems to make sense to me. I don't realize how much time was flown until the janitor is at the door asking if I am spending extra hours in the office. I smile genuinely at him and tell him that I will be out in a few minutes. "Look who is here," Chibesa says, hands shoved in his pockets, looking at me. "Good evening, Chibesa," I say, putting things in my handbag. "I see the day didn't go so well for you," he says with a teasing smile. "Chibesa, what do you want?" I ask with a sigh, this time looking at him. "Why don't you just quit? You have no idea how to run this place, but you still insist on coming here and making a fool out of yourself." "Is that all?" I hacks. "Oh, so now you have grown some balls." "I have had a really long day, and the last thing that I want is to argue with you or anyone else, so if you don't mind," I say, almost walking past him, but he holds me by the hand. "Shailesh was many things but never a fool. If you didn't forge the will, then I bet there is a good damn reason why she put you in charge of this firm. And trust me, if it means fighting you tooth and nail, I will do that," he threatened. "Good night, Chibesa," I managed to say, then walked out of the office. I walked to my car with my head held high, but the state in which I found it made me shed the tears that I had held back all day. The tires were flat, the windows were broken, and it looked like someone had tampered with the doors. Why would someone do this to an innocent car? I mean, if it was a personal vendetta, why not sort it out with me? I couldn't help but just stand there and cry, a big lump on my throat. Good night, Nella. It seems you have more enemies than you thought you had. Chibessa says with a laugh, getting into his car and driving off. I didn't know who to call. I had absolutely no one in my life that I would call. Trouble on the mountain. I heard Chanda hacks. I wiped the tears away. I am not used to this. I responded honestly. I will give you a lift. I looked at her. Up to the taxi rank. She added. That will be nice, thank you. I say. I get into the passenger seat and put on the seat belt. She is playing From the Ground Up by Dan and Shay. Some days when I am wishing to possibly find a man, I hope that's the song I walk down the aisle to meet him. I heard George passed through. She says, reducing the volume on the stereo. Her eyes are sharp and fixed on the road. I can't help but notice how sophisticated she carries herself. Even after a tough day, she is still smelling divine, and her face looking nothing less like an angel. George, I question. He has been meaning to buy the firm for years. Mom couldn't allow it. He is offering a good deal. I guess she had her reasons. She reasoned wrongly most of the time. Excuse me. You are one of those bad reasoning decisions. She says, parking at the taxi rank. Chanda, why don't you like me? You really think I don't like you? Yes, I respond. Nella, I don't like you. I hate you. You took away everything that has ever belonged to me whilst my mother was alive. Even in her death, I am reminded that to her I was always second best. I want you to get this right. I am not your friend or acquaintance. I am your enemy. If it means bringing the firm to its crumbles just so the board votes you out, I will. She paused. Nella, I have worked my ass and everything in me just so I can be half as perfect in the eyes of my mother. I did my best. I chose a career path that I thought she would love. I wanted to be the kind of child any parent would be proud of, but no, it just had to be you. She says, an angry tear falum G. I couldn't respond. She had stated her stance, and now I knew what I was up against. She was determined to make me fall, and a greater part of me knew that she meant every word. Thank you for the ride, I said, opening the door. It won't happen again, so don't get used to it, she responded, driving off even before I closed the door fully. Winnie. Hibiscus.